Hello, everyone. Hello. It's Sarah here, founder of the Sisters Enchanted, and welcome for day 3 of this class. This is a side note as I let people find this video. Whenever I say the sisters, I don't pronounce enchanted correctly, it appears. And the captions always say the sisters enchanted. Like to enchanted. Gotta learn to pronunciate. The sisters enchanted. So hello. And I see lots of folks here on YouTube with me today. So welcome to all of you. If you are brand new here and just finding your way in, welcome to you. Though by now, I would imagine that y'all are pretty familiar with me and what we're doing here by now, as day 3 of our free tarot class is rounding out. This is the last day of this. So, all right, let's see here. Just checking in, and comments look good. I see in the comments already Christina Booth. She is the behind the scenes plate spinner here at the Sisters Enchanted. I am sure that Anna, my real life sister, you met her yesterday in the video for day 2. I'm sure she will be here in the comments just shortly as well. She has how old is he? I think he's like 9 months old, my little baby nephew, and she is sitting with him and getting in the comments today. So you'll see Anna here. I think this is her right now. All right. If you are new again, we have been bringing classes and community just like this online since 2016 and have taught tarot to tens of thousands of people. And what we bring to teaching tarot specifically is all that I learned while a teacher. I was a school teacher and then owned a business where I helped folks who learn differently to learn in ways that work for them. And I use that information to help people learn to read tarot. And we believe that when you form a relationship with tarot and with the cards and the card meanings of your own coming to understanding the cards, that's more powerful for you. You're going to have more readings that are going to be clearer for you. They're going to stick, they're going to make more sense, and it's just going to be a better experience and more impactful for you. And that's how we teach tarot here. So hello, I see familiar faces. Hey, Emily in the comments. She's my friend Emily. We have a YouTube video or podcast episode you can go listen, chatting with Emily as well. I was just texting Emily about this weird dream that I had in which my tattoo, the ink fell out and my skin opened up. Texted Anna about it as well. So the two of you are like, you're in the know. All right, so day 1, let's circle back. Day 1, we talked about the story of the cards and how they are more than just these individual meanings, right? So when you pull the 3 of Swords, it's not just the 3 of Swords, it's part of a linear story. It's part of a progression. It's part of a holistic thing that's happening. It's not just that card, you know? And day 2, yesterday, we did lots of questions and answers. So y'all asked some really good questions. And basically, I think that the overarching thing that we can say to everyone is that there's a lot of quote unquote rules out there around tarot, what you should and should not do, how you should and should not read. And we just want to, let you know that there is not really a should. There isn't a should thing. If there was one hard and firm piece that I would say, like, for us is a should or should not do thing, is should not read too much for yourself, really. If you have the question, what am I not seeing here? And you ask it 5 times in one day with 5 different tarot spreads and 5 different tarot decks, and then you call your friend about it, that's not helpful. So that would be my one thing where I'm like, you probably, let's not make that a habit. But really, there are no hard and fast rules. As we explained yesterday, the history of tarot is it's complex. It comes from lots of different pieces coming together. And there's not a thing that I think a way it's specifically meant for you to be. I'm just going to adjust this light. I'm sorry. I think it got pushed over a little bit. It's shining right in my eyes. So there are no hard and fast rules. Do what works for you. All right, so today we are going to go a little bit, if you're really new, this is going to be maybe a little out of your comfort zone, and we are going to do a reading. We're going to put all this together to do a reading. Now, I'm going to do it as a demonstration, and feel free to do it along with me with your own cards, pulling your own cards as well. So you don't have to like copy the cards that I'm pulling out or anything like that. I'm going to demonstrate how you can kind of pull all of this information together into a reading. Now, I'm going to see how this goes. I've not done this way before. I have a board here. I've got some painter's tape, some glossy tarot cards, and we're going to try to hold it all up. I got to get one of those over desk camera situations. In the future, we'll have one of those. Okay, so what we're going to do here, as I'm pulling the cards, I am going to lean heavily on only the information that we gave you about the cards on day one, on Friday, as opposed to what I know to be the traditional meanings of the cards. So I'm going to do my best to not fall into the traditional meanings and just use the information as we presented it in these 3 days and see what happens, all right? So this is exactly how, though, I would do a reading. Now, on your worksheets, the 3rd page says, let's read. And that's what we're going to follow today. So you can watch or you can do it on your own with your own cards. It's totally up to you. Again, you do have Christina and Anna, I know, in the comments helping out. And I know there's several familiar Sisters Enchanted faces from our community here too, who I'm sure will chime in if they can help you with anything as well. So feel free to ask questions, and all of the kind folks here in the comments will help you out too if I don't answer your question right away or if I miss it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is ask the question. The question we're going to sort of focus on, or the thought we're going to focus on today, is what do I need to learn or see about myself right now? So that's pretty general, right? What do I need to learn or see about myself right now? As you can see, I'm a very lazy shuffler. Every now and then I have to sort of split my cards out and put them all back together so they're nice and shuffled. All right. Hello, everyone coming in. Okay, what do I need to learn or see about myself right now? And the first thing we're going to do when we ask that question, we're just going to kind of think about it. Think about yourself. One of the things we talk about is being sure to just really think about you in these moments. Not all the external stuff, not like, oh, my partner didn't do this thing, my kid did this thing, my boss did this thing, I'm really annoyed about that, even me, I've been battling this cold all week, just really just focus on my inside self. Think about that for yourself here. What do I need to learn or see about myself right now? All right, what I'm going to do is, per the directions, I'm following my own directions, we're going to pull 3 cards. Now, the way that I do this is I'm going to pull 1 off the top. I'm actually going to shuffle them up again because they were in order from teaching. So sometimes I'll just pull straight from the top. It's really up to you. It's one of those questions. I'm going to move them around again until I feel like this is the card. I'm going to grab another one. I'm going to do it one more time. And then I feel like we need to cue the background music. Okay, and my 3rd card. All right. So what do I need to learn or see about myself right now? And this is where we're gonna get fancy here. I'm gonna try to hold this up so you can see holistically what I'm doing throughout this time. And fingers crossed, I tested it before. The tape came right off. Okay, so I have my 3 cards. Let me just put them on my board in the order in which I pulled them, and then I'll show them to you. All right, so here's what we got. I got the Ace of Cups, which was the first card I pulled. This might be backwards for you, I'm not sure. But I pulled the Ace of Cups, the Moon, and the 3 of Wands. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do here, and again, I'm following the directions on the sheet. If you're doing this on your own later or right along with me with your own cards, first review the cards to see if they belong to the major arcana, the minor arcana, or our court cards. And the reason we want to look at that first, that I'm suggesting to look at that first anyway, is if you recall the major arcana we discussed being these big themes, right? Where the minor arcana, these are more of kind of the day-to-day details, things that are happening right now, and court cards would be those energies. So I want to kind of assess, where am I at with that right now? So we have the Ace of Cups, that's a minor arcana card. We have the Moon, that's a major arcana. And then we have a Three of Wands, which is another minor arcana card. So just looking at these here, I see that what's interesting to me in the cards that I pulled is that my major arcana is in the center here, and on the sides are minor arcana. So whatever this big thing is for me, and isn't it wild? I was just talking about my dream that I had, and I pulled the Moon, which is like your inner stuff. Remember, I said I wasn't going to talk about the meanings. This is wild. So on the sides of that, the long-standing, the big thing for me is flanked by two day-to-day sort of detail cards. So that's telling me that whatever's going on for me, it's very much at the center when I'm asking the question, what do I need to learn or see myself right now? And there's like life things that are impacting that. So we're just going to look at that right now, not even the meanings. And that's just based on whether or not it's major or minor arcana. How like cool is that? Just with that in mind, we can see that something that's going on for me is like on a deep level is being impacted by day to day. Just with that information, no other information at play. Okay, so I have no core cards here. You might have core cards, in which case you'd look at like an energy being applied there. I don't have any core cards here. The next thing we're going to look at is look for the suits and note any elemental associations for the minor arcana. So one of the things we talked about was how those how the wands, the swords, the pentacles, and the cups are associated with the elements, and whether those are sort of internal or external kind of things happening for us, right? So I have the cups, which is emotions, and that's your emotions. That's internal. That's internal sort of stuff that you have to work on. And then I have wands, which is that passion, how you're experiencing something, momentum, and that's external, how that's showing in your life right now. So I can see here that I have some internal stuff and there's some external going on. So I have got one of each there for my minor arcana. Then we're going to explore the number story being told in the cards, as we talked about. Again, I'm going through everything we've learned so far. So as we talked about on Friday in day one. So I have an ace here, or when I look at the chart, got new beginnings or potential. So with my emotions, my internal stuff, there's an opportunity maybe for some new way of exploring my emotional self right now. When I look at the 3 here, 3s are opportunity in the path forward. And we have wands, which is again external, it's passion, it's experience, it's momentum. So there's opportunity in how like if I'm feeling really like passionate about something right now, there's opportunity in harnessing that passion, right? And this is all just from the notes that we have. When I look at the moon, I did attach in yesterday's email, if you are not in the Facebook group, the graphic with the keywords for the major arcana. But if you remember back to our day one video, or you rewatch it on the replay sometime, we remember that the moon, it's part of that portion of life where we've learned a lot, we've experienced a lot, and now we're kind of in that like stumble, stand up, stumble, stand up, stumble, stand up. That's how I described that part of the major arcana when we got to these like down and up, down and up, down and up. That's where we are as we are growing through life and gaining more and more wisdom. But on our sheet, our keywords here, the moon, we've got imagination, subconscious, illusions, fears, overcoming fears. So looking at this, I've got subconscious, illusions, fears. In the middle, on one side, I've got this opportunity for some kind of emotional opportunity. And on the right here, there's a passion for the path forward. And that's all just based on what we've talked about without memorizing the cards, just looking at what's here. And it's totally okay to reference the sheets as well. Okay, so when I look at this, I would ask you to write one short phrase for each card. Now I'm going to try to hold them right at the same time. So for the Ace of Cups, I did verbalize it, but maybe opportunity, new opportunity in emotion. For the moon, I'm going to write subconscious Spheres. And for that Three of Wands, we're gonna write here sorry, I was reading a comment at the same time and I shouldn't do that. So this is the path forward, passionate about the path forward is what I'm gonna write. So I've got these three phrases, passionate about the path forward. And the next direction is to put them together into one sentence. So all three of these things in one sentence. So there's a new emotional opportunity based on something that I'm subconsciously maybe afraid of, and my passion for my path forward, the passion for the future is what I need to see right now. I need to see this passion for the future, what I want things to be, right? So I've taken these three meanings, these three cards, and I put them together in one sentence. So I'm going to write down here. So new opportunity, new emotional, what am I going to say? New emotional opportunity based on a subconscious fear, based on, I'm going to write internal fear because it's shorter, based on internal fear, fueled by passion for the path forward, the next thing, the path forward. Okay, so that's what I've got here with these three cards. Now the next part of this here, the next part of our demonstration is to ask, what can I gain from releasing expectation? So any expectation that I'm having right now. I'm going to pull two cards. Let me pull those two cards. Now this is also an example of how not to use a spread. This is just asking questions, but I did give you the questions in advance. But often I would just start with a question and then I'd ask another question. So if I'm having a subconscious fear, I'm probably having an expectation of how something's going to play out, right? Like, what do I think is going to happen? Let me pull two more cards. All right. Wait till you see these cards. I'm going to get my tape ready. I need like a handy dandy helper. Okay. And I'm going to stick these on top here for no particular reason other than that's what I'm choosing to do, right? Again, we're not using a spread, for example, here. So I pulled first the World and then the Devil. And I did shuffle them. Around again in between. So the World and the Devil. And we're going to repeat the same steps. So do I have major or minor arcana cards here? Well, I have two major arcana cards. I have no minor arcana cards, right? So these are big expectation for me. Obviously, I've got big, long-standing stuff happening there in terms of expectation. So we have no minor arcana. We have no court cards here. We just have the major arcana cards. So I'm going to look at my major arcana list, again, assuming I don't know what the cards mean at all, so I'm totally new to this. So I have completion. And then with the Devil on our list, we have addiction, hopelessness, attachment, repeated behaviors. The cards are calling me out. We're going to do the same thing. I'm going to write down kind of a key phrase or a word for each one. And I'm going to think about that question in terms of expectation. So I'm looking at this in terms of completion or fulfillment and expectation for the world. And a phrase putting that together would be like feeling complete. Feeling complete, like through or like when expectations are met. Or like I think expectations will make me feel complete, right? How I think things should be. And then with the Devil, I'm going to write down this idea of, so the words are addiction, hopelessness, attachment, repeated behaviors. So attachment, I'm going to write down 2 repeated behaviors. 2 repeated behavior, or 2 expectation, which could lead to repeated behaviors, like being in a cycle, right? Okay, then we're going to put these in together here. So when I read these together here, that the feeling that I will be complete when when my expectations are reached is a devilish attachment. That's not a helpful attachment. When my expectations are, I feel complete when my expectations are met, is a devilish attachment, is what I'm writing for myself. So I'm going to put these all together so far. So what I have down here is, what do I need to see about myself right now? I see here that there's a new opportunity, maybe being presented by some subconscious fears that I have, and it's my passion for like that next step forward, something different that's going to help me to move forward, move through this, whatever this thing is here. And what do I need to know about my attachment? In this case, I'm looking at my attachment to the thing that I'm not seeing, or what I need to see about myself here. And this, for me, came up as a subconscious sort of fear. And the idea is that I have these expectations, right? And I'm only going to feel complete when my expectations are met. And that's an understanding that that's a devilish attachment. So what do we need to do with expectations? What do I need to do? I probably need to release them, because that's not a good attachment, right? So I have this fear that I'm only when my expectations are met am I going to be complete, but that's not serving me at all. That's what I need to know about my expectations. Okay, we're going to do 2 more cards. The next cards, what do I stand to lose dwelling on a specific outcome or expectation? What do I stand to lose? I see Shirley's asking, I don't see words for the Shirley, I emailed them out in day 2. There's a graphic in the day 2 email. And if anybody's in our Expedition to Soul Facebook group, it's also in there. All right. What do I stand to lose dwelling on a specific outcome or expectation? I'm going to pull 2 more cards. What do I stand to lose dwelling on a specific outcome or expectation? Oh, y'all, the cards handed it to me. Public, in front of 155 people. I just had myself handed to me. My butt kicked by my tarot cards this morning. All right, I'm going to put those down here on the bottom. And we're going to do the same thing again here. I'm going to first look. And again, remember, we're assuming that I'm new to this, or assuming I'm totally new. I'm going to look here. Do I have major arcana cards, minor arcana cards, or do I have court cards? I have a major arcana card, the death card. And I also have a minor arcana card, the 4 of Wands. So what we learned, again, major arcana is that big, long-standing stuff. And minor arcana, these are more of the like in the moment things we can kind of manage day to day, see right now, right? So I have the 4. When I look at my number sheet, 4 is receiving the result or consequence of that opportunity, coming back to reality. 4 is also the Wands is one of those external things. It's your passion and drive for something here, right? So what I have here, again, the question is, what do I stand to lose dwelling on a specific outcome? And I'm going to write my little blurbs down just like I did before. So for death here, when we look at our cheat sheet, that is release, ending, change, transition. So what do I stand to lose? The opportunity for change. If I dwell on an outcome, opportunity for a change, stand to lose. And then what else here with the 4 of Wands? Again, my 4 is coming back to reality, receiving the result or consequence of opportunity, and its passion. So for the 4 of Wands, I'm going to write down receiving the very thing I'm passionate about. Receiving the very thing I want. Okay, so putting those together, here what I stand to lose is if I don't put to death, I stand to lose, or if I dwell on expectation, I stand to lose the opportunity for change and receiving the very thing that I want. So when I put all these phrases together here, and again, this is how I would pull cards without a spread, right? So the very first thing I started with was, what do I need to see or learn about myself right now? Well, there's new emotional opportunity based on an internal fear that I have. and that emotional opportunity, and that is going to be fueled by the passion I have for the path forward, the next thing that's coming for me. What can I gain from releasing expectation to an outcome here? The feeling, releasing expectation, I can stand to gain the feeling that my, did I read this right? Yeah, okay. What can I gain from releasing expectation? The feeling here that I will only be complete when I have reached my expectation, right? That is a devilish attachment. That is not a good attachment. And what I'm standing to lose here is the very thing that I'm going after. What do I stand to lose dwelling on that expectation and not letting it go, right? Is I'm going to lose the opportunity for change and the very thing that I want. So when we put this all holistically together here, the next thing I would kind of look at is sort of what's going on with these cards. So we pulled 7 cards here, and of these 7 cards, 4 of them, so more than half of them, are long-standing. They're major arcana cards. So these are big things. These are big things within me. So if I'm looking at this question, this series here of questions, it's really pointing out like, wow, this is deep stuff within you. This is like deep-seated things to work through here. And it's interesting to me that the 2 of the 3 minor arcana cards I got are both that passion for something, passion for the future, right? They're external presentations in my life, which really shows me that how I'm feeling, like how I am inside me at my core, that's showing up in my life. That is something that can be seen. So how my life is going is greatly impacted by this heavy hitter stuff. And that's all, like that is a reading without even knowing what the cards mean, just based on the information here and asking 3 questions. Now, I did give you the questions in advance, right? But you can certainly do this by starting with like what do I need to know about okay, so I'm going to visit my elderly grandparents next week, and my mom's coming, my husband, my kids. So I could have started this too with just the question, what do I need to know about myself and that trip next week? What do I need to know about that? Get my cards, sort of do the same process, and then ask, what do I need to know about setting boundaries during that trip? Because some of my family and I, we have very different viewpoints on the world. So maybe I could ask then, well, what do I need to know about setting boundaries? Pull 2 cards. And then what do I stand to lose if I don't set my boundaries? And then pull 2 cards, right? So whatever it is you're experiencing, maybe you're thinking of, I don't know, quitting your job and going back to college. So what do I need to do about, or what do I need to know about my confidence in this decision? Pull 3 cards. You look at them. What do I stand to gain from going out of my comfort zone? Pull 2 cards. What do I stand to lose from not going out of my comfort zone? Pull 2 cards. And so that's just asking one question and then asking more questions. Why did I pick 3 and 2 and 2? No particular reason. You could do 3 and 3 and 3, 2 and 1 and 1. But this is how to read without using a spread and just using your connection based on the story of the tarot, right? It's not having to memorize. It's learning the story, using the story, and then connecting yourself to the story without all the stress and headache of memorization. And you can do this in so many different ways just by asking one question. One of the questions we got yesterday was like, what's better, a 1 card pull or 3 card pull for your daily card pull, right? Well, 1, the first thing there is you don't have to do a daily card pull. And 2, 1 is not better than 2 is not better than 3, or the other way around. It's putting the cards together to one cohesive piece. And then if you really want to, like, explore the meanings and grab out your guidebook and say, hey, what does this mean to this artist? What's the other bit and piece there? And then start to really think and like dive in big time to this. So I could do this whole thing in all of 5 minutes and be like, all right, I got an idea about what's going on here. Or I could spend 2 hours and go into the symbolism and like do some real shadow work and journaling. And then I could get really layered here and think like, let's see here. What's really interesting is, all of the faces you can't see here. You don't see the eyes on this person here. Like all these people are looking away, and start to look at, well, who looks like they're looking at me? Like these people are looking at me. If you look at the imagery, she's looking at the devil and the devil's looking at me. So if I want to get into the imagery here, I can see like, oh my gosh, the only cards that are looking me in the eye are the devil, who knows I'm being my own devil, and then the two who know what I want. They're the only ones looking at me. This completion here, this like coming to an end based on, I got like, if I feel like that, there's that side eye and the devil over there. So then we can start to look at the imagery, right? And go in that way. So you can look at the meanings based on the guidebook. You can look at what's going on here. You can look at, let's see here. Another interesting thing here. These three cards right in the middle, they all have water prominent in the imagery, all of them. And water, that's your emotional being. That's internal. That's more of that moon subconscious. I don't see prominently anyway water, in any of these other cards. So in the center here, it's all centered around my emotional self, my internal self. And again, that's not even based on the card meanings. That has nothing to do with the guidebook meanings or memorizing. That's looking at the images and having connection with them, and then having connection with for yourself here, which is how I would look at the cards as a person who's read tarot now for 20 years. That's how I would look at them first, and that's how we teach it in our classes, right? And that's how we're teaching it to you here today. I see Lisa saying, sorry, I haven't been catching up with the comments, so I'll scroll back through, but I just see this on the bottom. Lisa's saying a lot of red also. Yeah, for sure. So those are all ways in which that's how you can read tarot without knowing the card meanings, and how you can really look at yourself and your relationship to what's going on as well. And that comment about there being a lot of red too, like just as a personal level, looking at myself, red's not a color I often surround myself with. I have 5 planets in Sagittarius on my chart. My husband, he's in Aries. My son, he's a Sagittarius rising. Like my mom, she's a Sagittarius sun, moon rising. I got a lot of fire in my life. So red is not something that I'm typically adding into the mix, like in terms of color. So that's something interesting to see also here, is like, I am so fiery and passionate, and I have these 2 wands here. But like what, maybe it's time to think too about, like, subconsciously in my feelings, what do I need to be more passionate? Like, am I actually living in that passion? And then looking at my own personal life too, reading for myself. I'm a Cancer rising astrologically, and I have several asteroids and things and planets in Scorpio. So looking at that, and my south nodes in Scorpio, along with a couple other things that don't go so well together. But that's change, and that's your past life stuff. And so like really diving in on a personal level, again, I can read this in 5 minutes and be like, all right, I got an idea, I'm going to move forward. Or I can look at it too and say, okay, I'm really, like, I just need to think about things from a different perspective right now and dive in on a big level, right? Now, sometimes, like the stuff I mentioned just now about my astrology stuff, sometimes you pull cards and that's not relevant, but then there's other things that are relevant. There's other things you see going on there. And so there's just so much interesting elements to look at, even if you don't have the meanings memorized, right? And that's why day 3 here, I want to challenge everybody to do a reading for themselves, and don't get hung up on whether or not you're doing it right. It's for you. If it's for you, it's relevant to you, then you're doing it right. The one thing, the one thing I say to advise against really is understand I mentioned this yesterday, your kind of emotional self when you go into it. I made the joke, like if I'm raging angry at my husband, it's probably not the best time to start pulling cards about my marriage, right? Probably not the best time. I should step back, or maybe just pull cards about myself and what, like, attachments I'm having, but not about that relationship. Because if you're really angry about it, or if you're really like mad at somebody, or you're really sad about something, might not be the best time to pull cards about that exact thing. And over reading for yourself, certainly. Like if I'm asking, what am I not seeing today before I go to bed tonight, again tomorrow, and then I'm like asking my friend to pull cards, and that friend pull cards for another friend, and then you're getting yourself more confused than you're helping yourself there. So those would be my 2 things, kind of words of caution. But Otherwise, just pull the cards and see what they mean to you. Like what comes up for you. And that's how you are going to have the best relationship with tarot. And you're actually going to learn it faster, because when you tell yourself the story first and how it relates to you, and then you go back through and you start going through that guidebook and you're like, all right, well, let me learn more about this. What does this one mean? It's going to be easier for you to internalize that, because you're making then a personal connection to it, as opposed to just trying to memorize it. So if I'm already looking at this and I'm like, okay, well, obviously like a subconscious fear, and like I can see it, like just, those of you who know me personally, some of you do here, that I really have I don't know, it's not a fear that holds me back, because I put myself out there, but I don't want to be perceived as a failure. I do not want to be perceived as a failure in anything. And it bothers me to no end, and I will kill myself to not be perceived as a failure. And, which is interesting, because I do fail at things constantly. There's lots of things in life I'm not good at. There's so many things I'm not good at. But I don't like to perceive myself actually as a failure. It's not so much other people. I don't like to perceive myself as a failure. And so, I have really high expectations for myself, like how I should perform. And then I pass those on to people around me, and that just causes trouble, as you can imagine. So when I have my personal connection to the stories here and the images, then I look them up in the guidebook, right? then it will help me to internalize those card meanings even more, right? Let's see here. And who's got, I'm just gonna do something here in the comments real quick. All right, so any questions? I'll scroll back through. And you can ask questions from any of the days or anything at all. And I'm gonna scroll back through and see if I missed anything. Y'all, between this illness and my air conditioner doesn't work here. It's hot, I'm sweating. Let's see. All right, I think Anna's answering the reversal. Anna got the reversal question. You don't have to do reversals. They can look like opposites, or like blocks, or something you're just really not seeing also. Let's see here. Scrolling back through. All right, I only scrolled up a little bit away. Otherwise, I'll get totally lost in the woods of comments. Elizabeth recommends shuffling in between each question. I didn't just pull. Oh, you can pull from the top. I shuffled in between each question specifically because my deck was not shuffled very well. I often do shuffle in between each question, but that's just a habit. It's not like you should or shouldn't do that. Let's see here. What if you don't pull any major arcana cards? That's a great question. If you don't pull any major arcana cards, then I would just, like the question that we asked, what do I need to learn or see about myself right now? I would make the assumption that it's just very much like life circumstance right now that is impacting you, as opposed to like deep-seated life stuff. Let's see here. Just going back through. Can you talk about whether your spread connects with your life, whether it resonated with you? I think, Amy, I just answered. Like, were you asking about me personally? Let's see here. All right, I think I kind of answered the ones. All right, so are there any other questions? For some reason, the questions don't seem to be in order for me, or the comments. And some of them aren't making sense because they're not in order. But if you have a fresh question, definitely ask. Jessica, so the major arcana is deep-seated in nature. Yeah, so the major arcana, it's like, so deep-seated is what I'm saying, but they're long-standing themes, right? So there are things that you come back to over and over again in your life that you might experience in different ways, but they're big themes. They're kind of like, if you were building a house, the major arcana would be like the pieces of the house, where the minor arcana is like the decoration. Like, what are you decorating your house with? That's not to say they're both not incredibly powerful, because they are. How you decorate your house right now impacts your mood. It impacts how much you like your house. Like it impacts a lot of things. But the major arcana, they're bigger themes, and in terms of doing like personal growth work and things like that, they would be kind of more deep-seated stuff to work on over time, for sure. Let's see here. Does the last card you pull in the 3 mean a result? Not for what I did today, Sheila, but it can, if that's the way that you're pulling your cards. So you might pull your cards so that you are, like, I could have pulled another card and said, and if I don't take heed to everything I just learned here, what can I expect to happen for myself? And I could have pulled another card. So you can keep adding, keep asking questions. There's not a right or wrong way in terms of that. Let's see here. And Angela's saying I have many decks. Don't read the same card the same in each deck. Exactly. We actually, I have a video on YouTube. It's really short. And it's about, because I don't buy that many tarot decks. I explained in one of, I think yesterday. And what I'll do is when I am buying a tarot deck, if I really like one, I will often look to see it to make sure if it's different than what I already have. So, some of the cards, do they tell the story in a different way, or does it tell the story in the same way, just a different image? Because I'm looking for different ways of looking at the possibilities, right? So I'll often, before I buy a deck, I'll compare and say, how different is this from the ones I already have in terms of the way the message is relayed and the story it's telling. Let's see here. Judy, how do you keep your ego out of the reading? Well, one, by not asking questions of things that your ego is very attached to at the moment. That's kind of what I was saying about your emotional self. Like if you're fighting with your partner and not pulling cards about that relationship, right? Because your ego is very attached to something in that moment. And being open to seeing yourself in a different way. Also, you can often understand that your ego is at play the more you're trying to justify something. So the more you're trying to get the cards to mean something, that's probably your ego at play. What would it mean to get the major arcana in the last question? It would mean something for you. So I did get a major arcana card in the last question there. What do I stand to lose dwelling on a specific outcome or expectation? And I just added it into the interpretation. If you got 2 major arcana cards there, then for you, you might look at that and think, wow, like that is like, there's a piece of me that I will lose out on the opportunity to grow a core aspect of myself if I don't understand this message today. But maybe not, it'd be situational for sure, depending on the cards you get. Let's see here. Elizabeth, Elizabeth, you can reply back to the email you received about that. And our support people will help you out for sure. Do you mix decks? I don't usually. But some people do, or I will use maybe 2 different decks in a reading, but I don't usually shuffle them together. I don't know, not for any particular reason. I just never have. So ego is like ego is like an external piece of self. It's the piece of self that looks for validation, approval, wants to be right. And it is, we often, if you, for example, here's a good example in my life right now, right? So I really want this one vehicle. I want to buy a new car. I do not need one. There's no reason for me to buy one, and it would not be smart of me to buy one right now, and I'm not buying it. But anyway, I would be lying if I said I didn't spend a significant amount of time considering whether or not I should buy this car and coming up with reasons as to why it's a good idea. And that's my ego at play, right? That is definitely my ego, because my ego's it's trying to convince myself of something. It's trying to validate that my reasons are right. The same in a relationship, when you're trying so hard to be heard, validated, that's your ego wanting that validation. So when we want something, we're really acting from ego. That doesn't mean that's a bad thing. We all have egos, and when you do harness that for the right reasons, great things happen. That's how people do amazing things in the world, because they are want to be seen in a certain way. And for me, my ego does not want to feel like a failure. And so I have lots of determination, lots of grit, because I don't want to feel like a failure. But also that can get in the way, right? If I'm not resting. Those of you who are in holistic witchery, and we're going to talk about that example in our class in 15 minutes. So yeah, let's see here. So Arlene says, I talked about major arcana card being surrounded by 2 minor arcana cards. Has the position influenced the meaning of the major arcana card? So I would look at that as things that are happening right now in my life, things that I'm aware of, impacting that. For me, the moon card, that like subconscious fear, the desire for like a new emotional opportunity, and that passion for like what that's going to look like. That's very much visible in my day-to-day life right now, I would say. Let's see here. Angela, I definitely have a question. I get asked a lot, how do you change what the tarot says, and is there a way to do so? I always tell people free will. I would say, so no one's ever asked me, how do you change what the tarot says? I mean, I would, that's such an interesting question. I would just, yeah, I would tell them, like, what is, like, they're asking you, how do you change it? I don't know, say I can't, it says what it says. But free will, or is it, oh, how do you change the impact? That's what you're saying. I got it. Took me a minute there. So how do you change the impact? Yeah, I would say that it's guidance. It's knowing, right? Like, I know all this to be true about myself. None of this is a surprise to me. I know all this to be true. Doesn't mean I'm going to go home and do it. It doesn't mean I'm going to go home and release expectation. I could very well walk into my home after work today and be like, I expected this to be done while I was gone, and then, be upset about it. Just because we know it to be true. So that's that free will thing. Yeah, I would say you're aware of it, act on it. Our program director, who's here in the comments, Sarah Milne, her PhD was actually in the gap between intention and behavior. And that's exactly that. Like, my intention could be to change all this, but what's my behavior? So yeah, free will. You know that you know what you know. What are you gonna do with it? That's it. Let's see. In the first 5 cards, I got 1 of each sign plus strength. Initial feeling is being well balanced. No, I would, like, that is a perfectly perfect way to look at that. Like, 1 in your first 5 cards, you got 1 of each element. There's certainly balance in there. Queenie, do we have keywords for the minors? On the sheet for day 2, there's the numbers guide. That's the way we did it for this class. What can you do if you read for someone who keeps asking the same question? Well, I wouldn't read for somebody who's asking the same question twice. I'd be like, you asked that question last time. I told you the answer. What's the next question? That's what I would do. That is definitely what I would do. Let's see here. Holistic Witchery. Yeah, we can definitely link you up to the waitlist page, which has a video about it on there too. That's our comprehensive program where we talk about intention setting, integrating an intention, shadow work, everyday magic, all kinds of fun witchy stuff in there, candle magic, things like that. And then there's a whole unit on intuition and divination. It's super comprehensive. It's when the printed out materials, they're over 600 pages when you print them all out, single-sided, of course. But it's amazing. We can definitely, I'm sure, Anna or Christina can get you the waitlist page, and that will like tell you the information about it. Let's see here. All right, I'm gonna answer a few more, and then I gotta run. So I have a holistic witchery class to teach in 10 minutes. Let's see here. Elizabeth, I was always told that having a reading is telling the story on your current path. If you don't want that, then you have the ability to change your future. Right, exactly, yeah. It's what's happening for you right now. So now you know, what are you gonna do with it? You do nothing with it. And that's that linear story of the tarot. You just go right back to the beginning. You make the changes. There's a new path there, right? New path. Oh, thanks, Michelle. Michelle says holistic witchery is amazing. Yeah, it's our it's quite good. That and our astrology class are they are very comprehensive programs. Let's see here. I've struggled with tarot for a couple of years, studying, journaling, trying my best to learn. But after this, wow, so amazing, thankful, made it so easy. Oh, thank you for saying that. I appreciate it. That's exactly what we hope for. Let's see here. All right, so Okay then, and Vicki, thank you, all my holistic witchery peeps. I appreciate it. So if you have any other questions, you can find us in our Expedition to Soul Facebook group. I know not everybody loves Facebook, but that is where you can ask us questions if you have them. We do have an app that's super awesome, and there is a whole folder of tarot spreads in there. If you want to, I'll show you the app. Oh, you can't see it. There it is. That's our, well, some of our class groups are in there now too. But there is a whole section in here, if I can pull it up, that has our astro forecast every week. There are notes in there, so you can get bonus notes to go along with the videos if you watch our astro forecast on Fridays. And then there are our Sabbath guides and tarot spreads in here. So there's all kinds of tarot spreads in here. You can't see them because of the way it is, but those are all tarot spreads for you in the app if you want some tarot spreads. And it's free, just download it. But you can find us in our Expedition to Soul group to ask any other questions for sure. All right, and if you want more, of course, Tarot Throwdown. Join us in Tarot Throwdown. We are teaching a live Q&A and practice session, or hosting a Q&A and practice session every week in August for those Tarot Throwdown students. So if you register, and then you can get more help in those Q&A sessions in Tarot Throwdown, which is, we've had 5,000 people take that class, and we'd love to welcome some more in there. All right, y'all. Well, I hope to get to know you some more in our community groups. Thank you so much for joining us, those of you who are new here. It's so great to meet new people online, and I hope to see you around the internet. All right, everybody, take care and happy card slinging. All right, bye.